We're talking Chicago Bears news. Where do they rank in national media perspectives? From PFF to ESPN, you'll hear our reactions on this episode of the Halas Huddle.
Huddle up! What's up, Halas Huddlers? As always, I'm Rob Shores with Bear Goggles On. I am delighted to see my wonderful co-hosts Bob Weiss and Justin Onayemi. We have a great episode tonight. We are going to be looking at different rankings that have just come out, one by Pro Football Focus or PFF, and then a couple ESPN articles that dropped. So it's going to be a good one, and I'm excited. How about you guys?
I can't wait. A lot of good stuff come out this week.
I'm looking forward to it. We have the Chicago Bears lens, but it's nice to hear what the National is talking. So let's get to it.
So probably the biggest news this week was PFF coming out with their offensive line rankings. And guess what, guys? What Brian Poles, Ben Johnson did in the offseason apparently worked because the Chicago Bears have the fourth best offensive line in the NFL, according to PFF. So, Rob, what do you think about that?
Yeah, so I was actually in the car. Shout out to ESPN again. I was in the car listening to ESPN on the way home from a doctor's appointment, and they started going through the rankings. They got the first three right. They listed them off by guessing. They got the Philadelphia Eagles at number one. I'm blanking who number two was. Number three was Buffalo, right?
Denver Broncos two.
Broncos number two. Thank you. And then the Chicago Bears, number four. I was like flabbergasted. I was like, how can you go from one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL to being ranked number 4? Well, they did it in the offseason, and they did it by adding Joe Thuney, who is clearly going to be a Hall of Famer. We already know, look, he's only blocked for 2 quarterbacks, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, now Caleb Williams. Can we follow suit in that direction? I would be ecstatic as a Bears fan. But they talk very highly about Darnell Wright. Look, I feel stupid for doubting him as being as good as he was and worthy of that 10th pick, because I had him ranked lower. I obviously a first rounder, but like lower in that rankings. But now you got Drew Dahlman, probably I'd say a top 10 center in the league, right? I'm not as high on Jonah Jackson. To me, that's a Ben Johnson hire right there. You know, they brought him in for that reason. But look, he was great for a few seasons in Detroit before he went to LA. So, look, things are moving up. But this means Caleb Williams doesn't have an excuse when it comes to the sacks, right? He's got to hone that in. So if he can get on top of that, now having trust in his offensive line. The other interesting part, before I throw it over to Justin, is they do have Braxton Jones at left tackle. So will that actually play out that way? We won't know until training camp starts, in about 2 weeks.
Yeah, so one thing I know we've been critical of on this show is, do the Bears have depth at O-line that they need? But it's clear from these rankings that they're looking at starters. And we've gone back and forth on this show, and we cherry pick at times when to give credit to PFF's rankings and when not to. But according to PFF, they had both Braxton Jones and Darnell Wright both as top 22 tackles in the league. And so to have both those, and then, like you talked about, Rob, what they've done to this interior, I know you just said I'm not big on Jonah Jackson. Is he better than Nate Davis? A lot better. So I'm excited.
He actually likes football.
Exactly. Well, and here's the thing. I think it does assume Braxton Jones is healthy and there. And we keep saying he better be healthy for camp. And if he loses the position to Ozzie Trapillo or even Karan Amagaji, but in my mind, Trapillo is the most likely, then that means Trapillo is performing at that level or even a little bit higher. And when you have that interior that you just detailed, I think that is a top level. One thing that was interesting to me, the next in the NFC North was the Vikings at 7. They did a similar thing as the Bears. They revamped their line with a free agent and, with a rookie and 2 free agent signings. But I think the Bears ones were just better. And Detroit fell quite a bit, all the way down to 13. So they had someone retire, Ragnow, and they lost Zeitler to free agency. So Bears looking good here. They got to show it on the field, though. All right. Let's talk about another ranking that came out, and this was on ESPN from Jeremy Fowler, ranking the top 10 defensive tackles in the league. So I don't really think there's much of a Bears angle here based on how the list came out, but I want to hear from you guys. And I know you two are legendary for your back and forth on the DT position. So, Bob, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, unless you're a Halas Huddle regular, you probably wouldn't look at this list and think immediately how it affects the Bears. But, we've had a long-standing debate ever since that draft where the Bears, passed on the opportunity to get Jalen Carter and then ended up with Gervon Dexter, just about how exactly has that worked out. I mean, Jalen Carter is constantly praised. I think he was a second-team All-Pro last year. He just kind of dominated through the playoffs. He showed flashes of just, wrecking games, whereas Gervon Dexter has not quite gone to that level. So the reason we're bringing Gervon Dexter is Jalen Carter is number 3, okay, 3rd overall in these ESPN rankings, and Gervon Dexter is not even in honorable mentions, okay? Now, I still like Gervon Dexter, but I think he's still more potential than what he's done already. So the fact that he's not even an honorable mention, the way this list was put together is ESPN asks, I don't know how many experts, let's just say 25 experts, just to give the top 10. So by Gervon Dexter not being on this list, that just means he didn't make anybody's top 10, but I could see him making a lot of experts top 15 or 16, right? So he might be right there and eligible to break out, but Jalen Carter, I know he even says in this article, he's 3rd overall, and the crazy stats aren't there. He only had 4.5 sacks last year. He only had an 8.5% pass rush win rate. But it's about what you see on the field. It's about how he makes his push in the pocket. It's about just the constant gravity that goes to where he is on the line. I know there's even some stats to say he doesn't even get double teamed that much, but watch the man play, and he's a disruptor, and you have to know where he's at, right? So Jalen Carter, beast. Now, just because he's a beast, I'm not suggesting that Gervon Dexter can't be, or that they should have took him. It's just let's be real about how good Jalen Carter actually is.
So for those of you who have watched this show, clearly know how much I do love Gervon Dexter and how much I praise him and compare him to Jalen Carter based on the fact that everyone else says that they should have taken Jalen. Not everyone, but a lot of people say they should have taken Jalen Carter. And I'm always like, look, I'd rather have Darnell Wright and Gervon Dexter because we just talked about how important Darnell Wright is to that offensive line, right? To me, having an offensive lineman is probably better than having a elite defensive tackle. Here's where I'm at with it. Look, you said some of those stats just last year. Okay, 5 sacks for Gervon Dexter, only 4.5 for Jalen Carter. 23 pressures for both of them. They had the exact same. Okay, here's where I struggle on why Jalen Carter is getting such a good ranking. I think he should be a top 10 rated defensive tackle. Don't get me wrong, but Jeffrey Simmons was 4, and Jeffrey Simmons is better than Jalen Carter. I'm sorry, he just is. I'd probably put Kenyon Williams above Jalen Carter at this point also in his career. Like, Carter could advance to being that point. I think too much weight is being put on the play that he had in the playoff run and during that Super Bowl. You have to look at the totality of the season. You can't just look at 2 specific games, 3 specific games. When I went back, look, I said I was going to give myself some homework. I haven't finished it. I started it. I started watching some Philadelphia Eagle games because I don't watch them, right, consistently, unless they're playing the Bears. And, we've had that conversation. Like, when does Gervon Dexter jump off the tape at you? And when does he take over a game? It doesn't happen, right? He has flashes. He has moments, but it's never really happened. Obviously, we saw that Jalen Carter could during the Super Bowl, during the playoffs, right? I didn't see it in the 2 games that I watched for the regular season. Like, it didn't jump out at me that he was doing anything. Gervon Dexter saw, I believe, I don't have it in front of me, but I believe he saw more double team rates or very similar to. But the thing that really pisses me off is Jalen Carter has a missed tackle rate of 17.6. Gervon Dexter was only, I don't want to quote it wrong, 5.6. Like, the guy misses tackles constantly, especially in the run game. You run right at his fucking ass, and he can't stop you. It's ridiculous why he's number 3. Put him on the top 10. Give Gervon Dexter his props. I'm tired of people saying he's not good. Gary, we had him on the show. He doesn't think that the Bears are as high on him as I am. I'm seeing everything being done right by Gervon Dexter this offseason. The amount of work that he's putting in, I'm watching it on his Instagram. He's constantly working. Getting these guys down in Florida to practice with him. Like, he's not out there doing stupid crap that who knows what Jalen Carter could do at some point in his offseason, off-the-field stuff. Put him on the damn honorable mention board at least, please.
Hopefully next year.
You need
Hopefully next year.
Rob's rants.
Yeah, I was going to say, Rob's rant. You need a cool down, or are you going to lead us into this last one?
Let's lead you into the last one. All right, ESPN, Bill Barnwell, he went out and did a ranking of all 32. I added 2 expansion teams, 32 NFL teams. And what was cool about it is he actually ranked them by their playmakers, their skill makers, right? Their skill players. So he went out and based off your wide receiver groups, your tight end groups, and your running back group, right? And it's interesting to see where the Chicago Bears ranked. The Chicago Bears ended up 25th. But if you look at where they were the year before, if I recall correctly as I'm scrolling to it, I think they were 6th. Okay, 6th. To go from 6th to 25th because you lost Keenan Allen, I don't really understand it because you improved your number 4 receiver. I don't know. I'm going to have you guys talk about it. Justin, you're up first.
Well, you stole most of what I was going to say, but thanks for tossing it my way. No, I do agree. Like, I think 6th might have been a little too high, like drinking the Kool-Aid, going off of, I mean, he's doing this off of metrics and things like that. And Keenan Allen, what he had put on tape before the Bears was very impressive. DJ Moore the same way. Now, I will say a year later, what DJ Moore did was a subpar season. People are a little rough on Odunze, in my opinion. And to be very, very clear, they took coaching staffs out of this. They take O-line out of this. They take quarterbacks out of this. So I feel like they should be somewhere between where they were last year and the 25. And when you land somewhere in the middle, that's around, 17, where they have the Green Bay Packers. Now, my question is, would you rather Cole Kmet or Luke Musgrave coming off a bad season with an injured ankle? Not to mention Colson Loveland. The receiving core, they have potential, but none of those guys really grab you like, oh, that's a number 1 that you can't live without. And I won't say that DJ Moore is that at this point either. But between DJ Moore and Rome Odunze, and then throw in Luther Burden, throw in Olamide Zaccheaus, like, I just think the Bears are at least as good as the Packers, and that's right where they landed. So I kind of would have put them more in the middle, but Bob, what do you think?
I mean, that's exactly where I was going to go with this, the Packers being 17th for the Bears, 25th. Now, in this offseason, we've done our best as a podcast to not just do stuff just to do stuff just to get clicks. We do these snake drafts, doing these other stuff. I truly believe the Bears being 25th in these rankings is just so that we come here and talk about the Bears being 25th in these rankings. I don't think they should be this low. And the fact that the Green Bay Packers are 17 and we're 25th is they have Josh Jacobs. Great. The best playmaker on either team. Great. And he's on the Packers. But I'd rather take the entirety of our wide receiver core and tight ends over the Packers. The Packers have nothing but character concerns, injury concerns, or experience concerns throughout their weapons. Whereas, the Bears have DJ Moore, who's 1,000-yard, 1,200-yard guy. Rome Odunze, who's a top 10 pick, who had a fine year for a rookie. Like, no, it wasn't one of these, breakout rookie years that we kind of have seen from other guys. That doesn't mean it's not coming. And then, the 12 personnel has got to be hopefully one of the best in the league. Now, it's still hopefully. So, that's probably why they're not top 10, but they should be in the middle of the pack, right? We don't know what we're getting out of Loveland yet, so I understand that. But, yeah, it's a little bit too low for my liking. Obviously, the Detroit Lions at 2 and the Minnesota Vikings at 6 is no surprise to anybody, right? Those teams are loaded, totally fine there. But, yeah, the Bears a little bit of disrespect here, and, here we are talking about it. So good job, Bill Barnwell. Nicely done.
I also like that the things they pull out are O-line, which we just said is hopefully a really good strength for the Bears. Coaching, which we hope is a strength for the Bears, and quarterback. Let's hope that's a strength as well.
But if I recall, too, didn't he also pull out things like potential suspensions? And Jordan Addison.
No, he considered that kind of stuff.
Oh, he did. I thought you said he did not consider that.
He did.
Because there's a chance Jordan Addison could be suspended. And that, to me, brings that down a little bit.
I like Justin Jefferson.
Justin Jefferson brings it up.
Way up.
So, all right. Well, nicely done, gentlemen. This was fun.
Yeah.
Very fun.
Yeah, make sure that in the comments you let us know what you think about these, right? Is Rob's rant about Gervon Dexter spot on, or is Jalen Carter actually elite of the elite? What do you think about the Bears' weapons coming up? And are you excited about the 4th-ranked offensive line in all of NFL, or is that just going to fall apart immediately? What do you think? Let us know.
Sounding like a real Bears fan.
And did Bill Barnwell overcorrect from going 6 all the way to 28, right? Like maybe that's just, it was like one of those overcorrection things.
Maybe. So.
All right. Well, training camp is right around the corner, guys. This has been fun. Go check out our snake draft from last Monday. And until then, bear down. Paws up.
What's up?
Ready, break.